this is where the prosecution was, here on the left. And the defense lawyers were here on the right. And he would be sitting around there, that chair. And you see they put up this glass wall because that's for the public, but they didn't want anybody to be able to attack him from behind, throw things at him, things like that.
Wow, and then that's where you were?
Yes, those are 2 rooms for interpreters that were made specifically for this that court case. And then we would have press along here, and so you see the electrical outlets there so that they could connect to computers, and there were also connections for headsets so they can listen to the interpretation. He invented this whole new story where he became the hero, and I think this has to do with Norwegian society, which is inclusive at the institutional level, but not so much at the personal level. I mean, Norwegians are forthcoming, but normally people have to take the first step, and they are not as naturally inclusive as some other cultures. And I think he just found out that in order to be somebody's hero, he had to make up this story himself. And so he did, with terrible consequences. And this was also more or less the story of the other guy who tried to copy him some years later. I mean, not long ago, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. He was also from an affluent part of Norway. He had some problems fitting in or finding a place where he could feel that he belonged. He eventually killed his adopted sister. She was from China, and he tried to attack a mosque and kill Muslims. That was his purpose. But he didn't succeed. Some Muslims, they just beat him up, and he's now in prison. But it's like the same story. People who feel that they are left out from society and not appreciated, and then they come up with like some kind of grand scheme to become heroes to themselves and to others who are of the same opinion. So it's a terrible thing. So having inclusive societies is really, really important. And I think that in Norway, well, what happened was that when the bomb went off in the government quarters, it was a great, I mean, most people, those who had any thoughts on who this might be, thought Muslims, I mean, Muslim terrorism. I have people I know who were like, they got bad comments in the time that passed between when this started until they revealed it was a Norwegian guy who did this. I think that it came as a major shock to Norwegian society. And then what became really important, and this is an interesting thing which I think that society has not addressed in full yet, was that they had the March of the Roses, where they said that let's meet hatred with love, and I think it was just an attempt at showing that we are not like him. We Norwegians, we are not like this guy. He may be Norwegian, but we are not like that. And that's a good thing in a way, because most Norwegians are not like him. I mean, the vast majority. But at the same time, it also kind of covered up the fact that not everybody likes people who are different from them. Not everybody is tolerant. Not everybody wants to include other people or welcome other people. So it kind of covered up the fact that we don't all look at things the same way. It gave the impression that Norway is a really like loving and caring society, which is pretty much the case at the institutional level, but at the cultural level, maybe not so much, not at the individual level. So this kind of hid the bad tendencies that you see among some people in some quarters of Norwegian society. And that was like a negative part of it. And what has happened several times after that is that when especially Labour Party politicians have talked about society in certain ways, then politicians from the Conservative Party, from the Progress Party, and others have said that, okay, now you're you're using the Utøya card. It's like now you're trying to get pity and draw political advantages from what happened. And this even happened just a few days ago when a minister was criticized by a columnist who often criticizes things she sees as bad about Norwegian society. She's originally from Finland. And she said that, oh, this minister, the only thing, she doesn't have any higher education, and her only qualification, more or less, is that she survived Utøya. And that caused some uproar because it's really not a thing one should say. I mean, she did survive, and she did help people over there. But it's not like when people talk about it, you say, oh no, now you're using like this, the Utøya card to your advantage. So there's still a question of how to relate to this whole incident. And some people sometimes say that, oh, the Labour Party are trying to use this to gain political advantage. And I think that is really a nasty comment when you know what actually happened out there. And there was also discussions there, what do we do with this place? I mean, do we preserve it? Do we tear it down? Do we still have summer camps for Labour Party youth here or not? So they decided to keep the house where a great number of these young people were killed, but they have built like a building around it. It's a pretty interesting thing, but if you can go out there, you should. I